الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells us in His glorious book in Surah Ghafir, chapter 40, in verse 41. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويا قوم ما لي أدعوكم إلى النجاة وتدعونني إلى النار. And O my people, how is it that I invite you to salvation while you invite me to the fire? Now this is a continuation from the story of the member of the family of Pharaoh, that when Pharaoh wanted to kill Moses alayhi salam, he declared, he was hiding his faith. He declared his faith and he was having a conversation with his people, the non-believing followers of Pharaoh. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala quoted some of that conversation because it is of importance to all of us. Whenever something is in the Quran, there is a lesson to be learned from it. And inshallah today would be focusing on this verse, that as they were arguing, with him, he say, because they wanted to kill Moses, and he was saying no, he only is saying he worships Allah and he brought all kinds of goodness and ordering you to do good, and you want to kill them. So the verse says, he's addressing his people. Why is it that I'm inviting you to salvation, but you insist on inviting me to the fire? So that's the verse that I want to focus on today, inshallah. So in this life, we are between two invitations. You get two types of invitations. One invitation to salvation and to Allah's pleasure and to safety, and another invitation to Allah's displeasure and to the hellfire. These are two different invitations that we get in one form or another. When anyone invites you or makes any type of invitation, we have to stop and focus and think about what are we being invited to. So we have to consider the content and the ramifications of that invitation. Where is that invitation leading to? Is it going to lead to sin, or is it going to lead to something good? Because all matters are judged according to their outcome. You can have the best intention. It's what the outcome, is the outcome going to be good, or is it not going to be good? For example, an invitation, you have a business partner. He's inviting you to come to, we have a great business deal that has a 400% return, but it's from illegal means. That invitation is an invitation to hellfire. It's not, it's masquerading as a business deal. But when you look at it, okay, you take that deal, you make a lot of money, you enjoy yourself, then what? Then death comes, and then after death, there's accountability. Then God's going to hold you accountable to it. And if that is from bad sources, to hellfire. So it's an invitation to fire getting masked as a business deal. So these are the type of invitations we get all the time. Invitations to a party, invitations to go on a trip, to travel, invitation to read a book, invitations to have fun. We have to think about what is the outcome from this invitation. What's going to result from that invitation? Will the invitation lead to salvation, or will it lead to hellfire? So that must be considered before we accept or reject an invitation. Every invitation to pleasure, to power, to position, to wealth, to sin and disobedience, what comes after it? Yes, they may get some kind of, advantage in this life, but death comes in and puts an end to all of that enjoyment, and now comes the accountability, for that. So, we cannot look at the short term, we have to look at the long term as to where is this going before you embark on doing it. So the next verse shows the details of what this invitation to salvation and invitation to fire that this person was talking about. Verse 42, تدعونني لأكفر بالله وأشرك به ما ليس لي به علم وأنا أدعوكم إلى العزيز الغفار. You invite me to disbelieve in Allah and associate with Him that of which I have no knowledge, and I invite you to the exalted in might, the perpetual forgiver. So a call to disbelieve in Allah and His religion in the narrowest sense is kufr, is disobeying Allah. Because disobedience, a lot of time people are not convinced of the order, so they disobey it. So that call تدعونني لأكفر بالله, this kufr is meant here as disobedience to Allah. You're calling me to disobey Allah and follow Fir'aun. No, that's a call to the fire. So obeying another person in the disobedience of Allah, in essence, is a call to the hellfire. Because you're disobeying Allah and following somebody else. So part of it is kufr and part of it is shirk. And shirk is association with Allah, is when you think somebody can benefit or harm you without Allah. You forget about Allah and then you put all your trust, all your hopes, all your dreams in a weak creation like you. So that's those are the two things that will lead to the fire. Kufr and shirk. So God, the entire universe witnesses to Allah's power, to Allah's wisdom, to Allah's competence. Whenever you look at anything, He's the one who sees you. He's the one who hears you. He's the one who can help you, who can benefit you, who can harm you. Nobody else cannot. Nobody else can without His permission. So it's only Allah. That's why Tawheed is so important for a believer. When you know that you only have one entity to please, which is Allah. You don't care about anybody else. Because if Allah is happy, He's going to take care of you. If Allah is not happy, it doesn't matter if the entire planet is happy with you, you're going to lose. So others that you may count on that they can help you somehow, or you please them, you disobey Allah to please them because you think you're going to get a position from them or some kind of an advantage, and you forget about Allah, it's not going to end well. Everybody is weak and helpless just like everybody else. That's how all of Allah's creation is. The power and the competence is in Allah only. He did not give it to anybody else. Now, our parents are the closest ones to us. They're the ones who have the most impact on us, growing up. That's who you look up to. I mean, you're being raised in their house. They have a lot of influence over you. But Allah Ta'ala tells us in Surah Luqman in the chapter 31 in the beginning of verse 15, after He said that وَقَدَ رَبُّكُمْ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah decreed that you worship Him and you be good, you be good to your parents. But this verse comes in, says وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَى أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, to the end of the verse. But if they endeavor to make you associate with me that of which you have no knowledge, do not obey them, but accompany them in this world with kindness. So after the obedience of Allah, Allah advised us to obey and be kind to our parents as long as they order you to obey Allah. If they order you against Allah's orders, then there is no obedience to them. There is no obedience to anyone in the disobedience of Allah. If they order you to do something that Allah orders you to do, yes, you obey them. Because there is a call to salvation, there is a call to heaven. But if they order you to disobey Allah, that's a call to the hellfire. And unfortunately, some parents, they look at their children, it's like, let the kid do whatever they want. They're young, they got time to grow up. Let them get it out of their system. That's a call to the fire. You're encouraging a child to go in and disobey Allah. This is a call to the fire. So the devil is very cunning He is very cunning the way that he tries to get us in trouble. He lures us with the glitters of this world and gets us to do things that have very serious consequences that we're not paying attention to. That's why we have to pay attention whenever we're going to embark on doing something. We have to see where that action is going. Where is it going to lead us? No one is going to straight out tell you, I'm inviting you to the hellfire. Nobody's going to do that. They mask it as an invitation to something innocuous, but that leads you to the hellfire. So we must learn how to distinguish between the invitation to safety, to Allah's pleasure, to His salvation, to His heaven. We have to distinguish between those calls and the calls to His disobedience and to the hellfire. وَأَنَا أَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى الْعَزِيزِ الْغَفَّارِ. The invitation to salvation is an invitation to the exalted in might, the perpetual forgiver. And Allah chose those two names to mention in this instance. And Al-Aziz is the mighty one who everyone needs Him for everything. He cannot be defeated. He is the most powerful. Nobody can get to Him. He is unique. These are from the meanings of Al-Aziz. But when you look at people who are powerful, usually people are afraid of them. Because they are powerful and you have no idea how they're going to react. If you anger them, they'll come after you, and people are just afraid of them. But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is Al-Aziz, but He is also Al-Ghaffar. He is the most forgiving. He forgives. So go to Him. He is powerful. If you're going to disobey Him, He's going to take revenge of what you're doing. But if you go back to Him with repentance and obey Him, then He will accept it. He will accept it. So we have to go to Him. And Islam is all about responsibility. Nobody is going to be held accountable for something that somebody else does. The excuse that, oh, my parents told me to do this, or my friend told me to do this, or my wife or my spouse told me to do this, that's not an excuse. With Allah, that is not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse. Allah gave every one of us a mind, an intellect that we can use to distinguish good from evil, to understand His commands, to take responsibility for our actions. So ignorance or blindly following others is not an excuse. If a person invites you to the obedience of Allah, then you must respond, because that invitation to obedience of Allah leads to Allah's pleasure. And if you secure Allah's pleasure in this life, you secure facilitation, happiness, success, and then eventually you die, and after death comes salvation and eternal bliss in heaven. So we have to learn how to distinguish between the calls to Allah's obedience and the calls to His disobedience, and be very careful. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.